Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hints Fantasy Football. We're going into week 8, and we're going to go over a very light waiver wire. We had some people drop some stuff, a little trade for defense, and some really boring pickups bidding for Kenyon Drake, which is a good pickup. But besides that, pretty boring. All right, so we're actually just going to move straight on to matchups, which is starting with me versus Rob Matz, which is going to be epic, I'm sure. But Rob Matz is moving his team around a little bit. So what do you see? What do you dislike? What do you like?
I would say the big thing first off is Matt needs to make sure that Zeke's in there, but that's a pretty easy one. You just take out Mark Ingram. Um, I think it'll be interesting for Alvin Kamara this week. Like I know he's a pass catching back, but besides Khalil Herbert, the running back position hasn't really gotten many points against Tampa. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do there in terms of like supporting your team there. Um, Also, Joe Burrow against the Jets. The Jets are. It's weird. They don't. They're like a really good fantasy team to like have like in terms of like stopping passing yards because of the fact that they're so bad everyone just runs on them. So how many passes will Burrow end up throwing is a little iffy and scary there. It's not like you can't throw, it's just like you can run, so why throw?
Yeah, it's one of those like you go up 21-3, and then it's like who cares? I
Yeah.
think like the Patriots put in the backup quarterbacks, like they put in Brian Hoyer,
Yeah.
like it was that bad, and they don't have Wilson. It's gonna be Flacco or
Or White.
Mike White, so they're screwed. They're not winning. So if you're still in the survivor pool, you pick Cincinnati. But yeah, this is kind of an interesting thing. The one thing that I think is going to be a talked about a lot in this show is the Thursday night game of Green Bay versus Arizona.
Yeah.
Coming up quick, slowly more COVID stuff's popping up, and right now it's just trying to decide because I have Kirk. I put Kirk on the bench. It was just like a kind of a weird thing, but I think a lot of people are gonna have a little bit of an issue with just trying to predict that because we're seeing a little bit more. I feel like COVID now, which is just going to
Yeah.
put people out for a week, which sucks, but makes things interesting.
I mean, Green Bay, you have Adams and Lazard both out right now.
Yeah, that's brutal. So I mean, how is that going to affect the game? Are some of these players worth? That's why I was sort of like Kirk, no way. Not that like I would have played Kirk anyway because I have good receivers back from the bye, but if Arizona goes up big early, and Green Bay really can't come back. You know, uh, they might not be throwing the ball too much. I respect Matt's keeping the Kansas City defense in all season,
It's a bold move.
but they find the Giants, so maybe this week will be the week. Um, but I'm gonna take myself. I'm assuming you're on my side as well, unless you're doing a
I'm
freak
on
out
your
stuff.
side as well. I mean, even if he does update his lineup, I just don't think that he has enough firepower to keep up with your team. Yeah, Cincinnati's defense, which is you're already talking about the Jets Cincinnati game. They're going to do great. And I really like your tight end with Conklin against Dallas. So
Yeah, I was happy with that pickup, but I mean maybe he throws Odell in the flex, Jones into the other receiver, and it looks like the
yeah,
coolest receiving core ever. And then Zeke and who else does he have? You could put Gainwell. Maybe he can make it work. Who knows? But we'll move it on.
both taking you.
Yeah. Nick P versus Alex, who got stomped by me last week. By the way, this is a cool
Nick
matchup.
P 5-2.
Yeah, 5 straight wins. Hottest team in the league, despite
Pretty impressive. I almost took him down last week. I almost took him down
less
off
than
by
two
like two
points, I
points.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just squeaking by with James Conner and just whoever else he can find at running back, which is pretty impressive. So what do you like, dislike from this matchup?
I like James Conner. As we were talking about, like if once they get up early, it's going to be a lot of handoffs, and I feel like that leaves James Conner with a pretty good game. It's going to be pretty rough because he does have Adams, so it looks like he's going to supplement with like Tyler Boyd this week or Jacoby Myers, which I like aren't bad plays, but again, Bengals wide receivers against the Jets are going to be iffy.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus Burrow. I mean, Chase has 500 more yards than any receiver on their team. So
yeah,
it's just like pitch and catch over there.
so
Yeah.
I do like I do think that the Rams defense has a great chance against Houston to really go off and keep like to set them up for a good chance to win this week, like and keep them like in the matchup, especially with Josh Allen against Miami. Was it
Yeah.
this season or was it the end of last season? Must have been the end of last season because their first game. No, they played Miami once this year. Uh, but the end of last season, whenever he played Miami, he put up like 46 points.
Yeah. They still kicked their ass this year, but there wasn't the points. That was like the oh, is Josh Allen still the same from last year? And then the next week he went off.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, thinking back on that, I think Tua went down in that game. So I mean, at that point, Miami wasn't putting up points, but Tua's thrown 3 and 4 touchdown passes the past 2 weeks. So
yeah, he's playing with a little get up because of the trade rumors. So I think that this actually might be. I think you're right, like Allen could go off just because there's a little bit of resiliency from Miami. I
yeah,
just don't think Miami's a good enough team to win. But poor Tua. Um, don't feel that bad, but hoping maybe the Panthers get Tua. Hey, that won't be too bad. Uh, is there any team, man? Hubbard versus Atlanta. Man, the Panthers look like a mess. It's embarrassing. Goddamn. Same with DJ Moore.
I mean, I will say like you look at DJ Moore. I traded him in another league just because I really didn't want to play the game with Darnold anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a great season, but it's just like those numbers should be so much better with a half decent quarterback.
Yeah. And I do think that this week is a good week for, I mean, Atlanta. Atlanta's, they're playing okay, but their defense is going to let up stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not confident for Carolina the rest of the year, but I think this week is still like a solid week. And I love Jefferson versus Dallas. Minnesota
Oh
versus
yeah.
Dallas might be like a really awesome game.
That is going to be a fun game and a lot of fantasy points, I think.
Yeah, and prime time. But we're gonna know a lot about this game just based on Thursday night. What
Yeah.
is gonna come out of Rodgers? And then you got his kicker and the defense, which is a nice little amount of points. So who are you leaning towards at this point?
I'm leaning towards Alex, even with Josh Allen having like that big play. Like he could easily go off for like 40 this week. I just love Jefferson this week against Dallas, and then you have Derrick Henry, who is just amazing.
I'm gonna ride the Nick P train. Uh, I mean, one cool thing could be, if they go up big, QB, and then the running back gets a thing. Hopefully, Zach Moss doesn't take the touchdown from Devin Singletary, and maybe Kansas City 3-4 going against the Giants could be a huge week for Kelsey. I hope so. Uh, this is a fun matchup. But so we're on opposite ends. Let's see, 2-5-2 teams square off. And we're moving on to 6-1 Stein versus Chris Gregg. And Stein's got some work to do.
Yeah. Does he got a backup quarterback on his bench?
I don't think so.
He does not. So it'll be interesting to see who he ends up picking up to put in at QB this week. Um, Interesting that he played Gibson and McKissick last week. It looks like.
Yeah, I don't really want a lot of don't really want a lot of Washington players on my team, but I mean they're playing Denver, so one of these teams has to get a win. So, but
I would imagine that he updates that.
yeah,
Last week he had Harris on bye, so Najee will come back in.
yeah,
Um,
Najee, Ridley potentially.
yeah,
Um, he's just got to
and
keep open.
honestly, I think I would switch it up and go with. I think he needs to get Hawkinson out of there and put Kasicki in. Kasicki has been on fire the past few weeks.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Tua loves. I think Gesicki said something in a press conference that he loves Tua, and that loves having Tua throw to him. So definitely a connection there. And Hawkinson's just they are not good, and he's more of that 20 point, 5 point guy. So
Well,
big
it's one
risk,
of
big
those
reward.
things that they have no wide receivers, so he is kind of like you have to throw to him.
Hmm.
Like like their best wide receivers are him and DeAndre Swift, which are not wide receivers,
Yeah,
but they're kind of like they're putting corners and safeties on him, so it's much easier to cover him because they don't have to cover the wide receivers really.
yeah, but that's not a good recipe, but yeah, I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think Swift is actually the leading receiver, which is pretty wild. Team's kind of a mess. But again, it's another week of Thursday night. We'll know a lot early on, and we'll see. Stein's got to pick a lot of receivers. He can go with, I one person who I'm like really high on right now is Wentz. Wentz
Oh
looks
yeah,
good.
Wentz has been killing it. I think that Wentz would be a perfect player to pick up this week and play.
Yeah, and Tennessee's defense looked good against Kansas City, but generally their defense isn't that great. So it's a big division game.
Also, Daniel Jones is another good streaming option this week against Kansas City.
Yeah, he gets those running yards. He could be a little mini Lamar Jackson here. He ran faster than Lamar Jackson on the trip run, so maybe it could be
Also,
something.
Daniel Jones wide receivers are starting to get healthy. I'm not sure who else is going to play, but
Yeah, and Daniel Jones also caught a one-handed pass last week, so maybe he'll get some reception yards.
yeah,
But yeah, the Giants are kind of a fun team. Hopefully, Saquon
they're
and
a mess,
everyone.
but a fun team.
Yeah, it just some teams, injuries and your record just isn't. I think they're better than what the record says, but I don't think they're that much better. Any team you're leaning towards here? It's Greg by a lot on the projections.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Greg because like not so much like Murray and Jones, but like Daryl Henderson, I think is going to have a fantastic week against Houston, and I think Dalvin Cook will go off against Dallas. So I think those are going to be hard point totals to overcome. And whenever you look at Stein's team, I don't think he has anyone this week that has that chance to blow up and try and keep up with him.
Yeah, the only like things I kind of see on Stein's side that like go his way is maybe he Jamar Chase is the best receiver. Hawkinson might do better, or Gasicki if he decides Gasicki, and then defense. I don't really understand. I'm not sure if Greg's locked it in yet, but I don't really understand Green Bay over
I
Pittsburgh.
have
Who
a
might be
feeling he'll
playing?
probably switch to Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. That'd be my guess.
Yeah,
Um, Cleveland without Baker, it's just a much better like chance of just getting a lot of points. Whereas Green Bay is going to give up a ton of points against Arizona this week.
yeah, and he might bench Cordero Patterson, the beast. So we'll see. Um, and his team, yeah. I'm gonna go with Greg as well. I think Stein's team, like that 6-1 record, like I think he's a good team, but I don't think it's
I think he's won a lot of close games.
yeah. And I think that reflects in the standings in terms of points for and everything. But um, so we're both gonna be on Greg here, and we're gonna move on to this is a cool game too. Kuzi versus Snowball. 2, 3, and 4 teams
Yeah.
trying to stay alive here because whoever loses might be, I won't say completely out, but it's going to be they're gonna need a lot of luck to get
Yeah.
through this. What do you see that looks really good, and what is not so good?
Um, the big things for me is I look at Steven's team and I see Miles Sanders, who I think might be out this week. Like I know it says questionable, but I'm pretty sure they're leaning towards out.
Yeah,
And Allen Robinson, I just don't think you can start either one of those guys this week. So he needs to switch that up. But on his team, I do love Buffalo against Miami, and I love CeeDee Lamb. So also his replacement tight end for Mark Andrews this week, I like the pickup of Pat Fryerman.
yeah. I was going for a tight end. I went for Conklin over Fryermuth. But I think Fryermuth's okay. I think it's a good one for this matchup. But I have the same issue. Like Snowball's team just has like a lot of like underachievers, Sanders and Robinson. It's not totally their fault, but then there's more who's sort of like a boom bust guy. Honestly, I'd probably be like keeping an eye on Devontae Parker and seeing if he's gonna play. Throw him in.
Yeah.
Just a big body receiver, but Kuzi has a lot of things going for him. The only thing that I would say that isn't going for him so much is yes, the Dallas defense turns a lot of people over, but I'm not really like. And Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins has been pretty good about not turning it over that much, and I think that this could be a lot of points, so that could be like a huge swing for him. Uh, so Buffalo maybe could be able to like go 15-16, and then you see Dallas down at like 2 or 3, which should be a big swing. But there's just too much. DeAndre
I will say
Swift,
I'm also looking at Kuzi's running backs, and they have some great matchups right there against the Eagles and Seattle.
yeah,
So I'm definitely leaning towards Kuzi this week. I just don't think Steven has the running back issue is a killer, not being able to play Jacobs, having CMC out right now. Um, I think even if he loses this game, he still has a great chance at making the playoffs and making a good push. He just has to he needs to get some players back. And I love Miles Sanders once he gets back and he's healthy.
yeah, but it's again the I don't know. He's in this Andy
My
Reid
thing
don't
is,
run the
if you look
ball.
at Sanders' schedule and you look at how they were kind of utilizing him, they were starting to use him a little bit more before he got banged up. Oh God.
What, you have a cat?
Yeah, I have a cat eating my foot.
Ow.
All
Well,
right.
the issue with Sanders is, man, he just hasn't. He had 20 touches week 1, and hasn't like gotten close since. And it's just like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Yeah. I think
I
if he
think
gets
a lot. I
CMC
think
back,
honestly, a big part of it is the fact that you have Jalen Hurts, who might be the worst quarterback in the NFL right now in terms of actual play.
I don't know. Darnold's putting the stinkers up, but
Darnold is trying to fight him for that, but
yeah,
I don't know. You just watch Hurts, and it's so ugly. Like
he's just
they like
garbage time. He's
yeah,
he's like a young. And I don't want to like shit on Tyrod Taylor, but he basically like that's what I see is like
yeah.
maybe he can become Tyrod Taylor. I don't think he's Tyrod Taylor yet, but
Did you see the breakdown of like Hurts's points per quarter for the season?
no, but all I'm seeing is like tons of garbage time. What's the stat?
It was like 2 points in the first quarter, 4 points in the second quarter, 5 points in the third quarter, and like 11 in the fourth.
Jeez, and I'm not so sure that's gonna happen against Detroit because Detroit it might be close the whole game. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I love.
I'm also not sure if Hurts ends up being the starter the entire year. And I think if they end up no like benching him and getting rid of him, at that point they're gonna have to shift to the ground game.
Yeah, because it'll be. I mean, Minshew can kind of move, but definitely not as much as Hurts. So that would actually might be an interesting thing to watch. And one other thing about Kuzi, I mean, Barkley, it looks like maybe he'll play, and I'm not sure if I'd play him even, but
No, I think you
pretty
stick with the
loaded.
guys that you got.
Yeah. Um, because Mitchell looks. It would be the deciding between Mitchell and him, and seems like Mitchell's the guy right now in San
Yeah,
Francisco.
and if you put Barkley in, like yeah, Barkley could go off, but Barkley could easily go out there, reactivate the ankle, and then you're
And then you're
got like a 2 point
2 points.
at your running back.
Yeah. All right. So I'm assuming we're both leaning on the Kuzi
Yeah, we're
side.
both going with Kuzi.
Yeah. All right. Show us something, Snowball. All right. This one should be quick. We got Lestrange versus Tony Beats. Beats still has Clyde, and
Oh yeah, I got that Clyde in there. Uh, it really sucks seeing Tony's team,
it's insane.
like, because like the team that like was basically drafted for him is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it sucks that his running backs aren't great, but like it's just brutal.
Yeah. Number
It's
one
rough seeing
receiver.
so many fantasy relevant people being put on the like just not being utilized. Like Pittman, I think is like he's breaking out right now. He's fantastic, and he's just sitting on the bench, and it's just brutal.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
all
it's
even the players that are in the starting lineup, like they're not doing anything because it's on a team that's not attempting to win. Like
yeah.
Dak, Cooper, Cup, Gordon,
Yeah. Even Gordon's pretty good.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. It's disappointing, but Gronk's coming back, so maybe that will save his team. On Lestrange's side, I mean, Lestrange pretty much has great matchups across the board.
Yeah, Joe Nixon's gonna go off with playing the Jets, and
Chubb's back,
yeah,
potentially. And he's got the backup anyway. So the only thing he really is, he's choosing Greg the Leg to play. Interesting. But do you really have anything to talk about with this game?
no, I think we can just say it's Lestrange is here.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna move on to you and Chris Smart, and you get to play a spoiler here on Smart.
Yeah,
Looking pretty
Chris Smart
close.
trying to get back into it this year, even after trading away Diggs and Joe Nixon.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but I mean, I might make a switch at quarterback. I might go out and actually grab Wentz in this, but part of me likes the stack between AJ Brown and Ryan Tannehill. I think you're going to see AJ Brown turn back into like what he was last season. Um, didn't really realize this, but last season he was at like from week 6 to the end of the season last year, he was the number 3 wide receiver, like just absolutely dominating. Um, and I think you're starting to see that with 9 targets the past 2 weeks, and uh, just really starting to get into a groove. So I think I got that. And I know it says Judy is out, but I mean, I've seen everything out there saying Judy is back this week. He was questionable last week. So
yeah. I think I think they're taking him off this week, so he should be good to go. The only thing that's cool about Chris Smart's team is Kyle Pitts is finally like
yeah,
looking legit.
he's, yeah, really starting to come into form. Uh, and I mean, I think at this point, he's the number 2 target behind Ridley.
I think he might be the number one. At least the last couple of weeks, he's been the number one guy.
That is true.
Um,
Granted, Ridley was out for the Jets. Like he was
yeah,
out
he
for the
wasn't in
Jets
London.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it'll even itself out. Michael Carter. I actually had Michael Carter in a couple leagues, and he's finally starting to look somewhat the part. But he's got like a Chris Moore's got a weird team where it's like he's got a lot of good bench players, but they're not like great, and it's like hard to decide. Where do you go with Davis, or do you go with one of your bench guys? And I think you go with one of your
Honestly,
bench guys.
I think I go Tony Pollard in this game. Then I think it's going to be a shootout between Minnesota and Dallas.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pollard, or if you're really really confident, you go with Van Jefferson and hope you get like a stack with Stafford. But I don't think Van Jefferson since week one. Oh, he had a big week last week, but week one he had that big touchdown. You're praying for like 15
Yeah, you're
points.
hoping for the touchdown. So
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I think you stick with like his running backs are pretty good. Like Williams has been a great sub in for the Chiefs with Clyde out. Damian Harris has been looking great.
Yeah, I think
Obviously, you have Hopkins in.
Pollard's is probably
Um,
a safer choice. You're going to get more points on average and potentially also if he gets one of those high
I'm
teens.
to be honest, I might go Beasley over Van Jefferson. I think I might go Beasley as his number two if I was him. I think uh I'd ditch Robbie Anderson. I think it's let me just make sure I get the stat correct. Uh yeah, 20 targets the past 2 weeks for 25 yards.
Yeah, if you just look at his, they're just not connecting. I mean, I watch them every week. It's pretty brutal. He's dropping a lot of passes. Seems like
Yeah.
Robbie left New York not thinking Darnold would come back, and he came back, and
Now
he's
he's
not
stuck with
happy.
Darnold again.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think it's impossible that he has like a touchdown and like some points this week against Atlanta. But Beasley is probably the safer choice. Throwing Beasley at two and then Pollard in the flex. Um,
And like you're playing my team this week. Like my team, I have AJ Brown who like that's my ceiling type player. Like that's my player who can go out and like break a game wide open. I guess I
potentially
also have
Tony.
Tony if Tony plays.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tony.
I also
Um,
picked up Darius Slayton in case he doesn't play to uh, put in the flex. So I did do planning to make sure that I even if he ends up sitting out, I can play him.
yeah, and one thing also on his side I would be like um, worried
Oh
about would
yeah,
be the defense. It's possible. I mean, they kicked Tampa Bay's ass both times last year, but it's a little bit different Tampa Bay team. Um, I'm not saying like you're screwed, but it's definitely not a good matchup. But the issue is, I don't think he really has anywhere he can put his players unless he like wants to trade Ertz or something. And
I mean I don't think it would be a like I would say like you definitely like if you're him, you can definitely drop Van Jefferson. Like I don't think anyone out there is going to be like, I'm picking up Van Jefferson no matter what. Like
yeah,
I don't
and
know who else is available on the wide receivers and the waivers, but like I'm not sure if I put Jefferson above everyone else. Like I think I'd even go Russell Gage before I get him.
I would take
Um,
Callaway. I would take Cobb definitely this week. I'd probably take Mooney. I'd probably
yeah,
take Samuel just because he's finally going to be healthy. Crowder, I'd take him.
you got
Um,
KJ Osborne who has been receiving targets, and you got him against Dallas.
yeah, I agree. That's probably the way to go. Um, yeah, there's plenty. And if someone does pick up Van Jefferson, I don't think they're going to keep him that long because they're going to see
Yeah,
he's
it's not the
that's
end of the world if you lose him, and I think going out and picking up another defense would be smart,
yeah.
especially with like how many great defenses there are to play this week.
All right. Who are you picking? Are you going to have confidence in yourself, or are you
I'm
picking
gonna have
someone?
confidence in myself to get my first win of the season
Let's
and pull
go.
off the upset.
This is like really tough for me to pick. I'm just gonna pick smart so that we're on different sides.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
but I do. I feel like hopefully he's banging on another Kyle Pitts big time game. And then Hopkins getting a touchdown because Hopkins has been good the last couple weeks, but he was like disappointing for a little bit. And he wasn't like going off last week. Just got that touchdown. That's what he's doing. He's getting touchdowns. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. All right.
Fingers crossed that I get the win.
Yeah, you need to get out of the doldrums, man. Start playing the
Yeah.
spoiler. All right.
That's what I'm going for. I have a team that, it's really banged up right now. Like I gotta get Kittle back. I gotta get Montgomery back.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at the standings and like the bottom three teams all have really low points for, but you're not even that low to be honest. But your points against are absurd. Uh,
Yeah. The points against is what killed me at the very beginning, which kind of knocked me out of the season. And at that point, then once I made the trade, like the past 2 weeks, I've put up under 100. hoping to get back to getting over 100 with Judy back and with Judy healthy and being able to play.
Yeah, because you guys are getting close to 900, and I still haven't hit 700 yet. So
Yeah.
it's fantasy is a bit of luck. I'd say a lot of luck, but all right. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. I think that's it. I think
All
we got
right,
our
man.
predictions in.